Again, this is Carl Palchuk from Small Biz Thoughts, and welcome to this edition of the SMB Community Podcast. I'm joined once again by my good friend Dave Sobel, who is the Senior Director of MSP Evangelism at SolarWinds MSP. Dave is a former managed service provider himself, former Microsoft MVP, and all-around good guy, and kind of a genius in the community here. So, thanks for being here. Part of what I want to talk about today is the customer experience. I mean, we have got an entire show dedicated to the customer experience. And so right off the bat, it's kind of different, right? That you would take and say, well, we've only got 6 shows, so let's spend one of them on the customer's experience and that piece of managing the customer relationship. That's not normally something that we think about when we think about a managed service tool or a remote management tool. It's almost like this tool takes a piece of the customer relationship to a new level.
Yeah, that's the idea behind what we're doing here. Is we've really designed this to be easy with a thought toward, can we make the experience for the end customer really easy? So we built it in both to make you the solution provider, the MSP. We want it to be really easy for you, but we also want the experience for your customer to be great as well. So it includes things like flexible technician creation so that you can create them really easily. You can organize things by department if you start growing out and you start having different people. So you can build auto routing rules so that people get routed to the right places. You can even manage request queues and update customers on the status so they can find out where they are in the queue and understand what their expectations, set the expectations for them. You keep your brand and your value as the solution provider and MSP right there front and center. It's all brandable so that you can actually make sure that it feels like you the entire time. You configure your workflows and all the reports you need to fit your particular business, because we really want to make sure that we're satisfying customers with good communication during and before the support session, so they know exactly what to expect and they know where they are in the process.
So there are features built into the app, and then there are features we can customize in the app. And finally, there's what you might call the offline features. So let's start offline. What kinds of policies do we need to discuss with the client as we begin to deploy Take Control?
Yep. This is one of those areas where there is a real opportunity for you to deliver some really great value to your customers and with the client by having these conversations about the business. So let's define some of what those things are. The first is, let's define privacy at that company. What does it mean? What is the expectation? What can they expect as employees working for that client? What does privacy mean there? You can define that, and you can help them define that. What is their company policy on monitoring and being monitored electronically? Do they have an expectation that their email may be reviewed, that they are business possession? By stating that, it actually helps the relationship significantly. And it sets the expectation for the employees so that they know what they can expect from their employer. Is there a reporting obligation? What do they have to be told? What has to be logged and managed during the process? What are those reporting obligations? Are they allowed to add software or uninstall software? What do they have to do? Can they make changes to their configuration? Like, those are expectations you can set. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer. Obligatory, I'm not giving legal advice. But what I am pointing out is that these are areas where you can deliver some really high value consulting by working with them and defining these pieces so they have set the expectation with their own employees. This is a bit of an HR exercise, and you can deliver some real value here. And then we move into how it can be implemented within the tool.
So it sounds like, you really want us to actively engage the client in a discussion about how we're going to use and configure and deploy this tool. So is that something that you think I can use as a differentiator?
Absolutely. I totally think that way, because what you're doing is you're differentiating yourselves from other people that are just connecting in and fixing their software, because you're having a conversation about their business needs. how they can define their relationship with their employees, how they can be most effective, and what the expectations really are. And so I really think that defines the personal relationship that your brand are defined to their customer, and how you really do position yourself. I want to make sure that you really are satisfying your customers by having good proactive communication, like both during and before support sessions, and that includes all of this expectation setting.
Well, let's go from offline to online. In a couple of different podcasts, we've talked about using the terms of service within the app. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so these are discussions about setting it up from that perspective. But you're able to set the expectations, and you can define an easy, customizable terms of service. So you can set it up when the software gets launched, for customers, that they are agreeing to the terms of the engagement, and you can configure that right within the software. So I know that this is one of those areas where you can make sure that you've thought that through, you've set the expectations, and that is clearly communicated, not just with the consulting engagement by talking to them, but within the software itself.
So I know you're an advocate of having MSPs configure the website so that clients can request a remote control session, but doesn't that turn every MSP into an on-demand help desk?
It does. I mean, in one way, I think this is a great opportunity. This is an ability to put that offering right out onto your website and use it from a marketing perspective. Someone's looking for help, they can click a button, get put into a queue asking you to help right away. You can engage and start working with them right away. You build your help desk out that way so that you can define the prioritization of issues. And by the way, you can set this up with auto routing and queuing so that you can actually say, my managed customers get top priority to go to the front of the queue, but I can still service those that are potentially looking for that. You've got a support request button right on your website that allows your customers to get to the front of the queue, but somebody who's looking for general help, which by the way, we call a sales lead, we get that we get that opportunity as well, and it's routed at the correct level.
Okay, so that's a cool feature. Talk some more about that. Do clients actually get a message that says, you're say 6 minutes waiting for help?
It does. It tells them their placement in the queue so that they know exactly, where they are in line as they go. You are now, third in line for support. And what it really does is it gives them that confidence to know they will be helped. That they're not just waiting forever and they don't know what's going on. They know exactly where they are in the queue, and they know how that's going to be working.
So thinking about the customer service experience, I'm not a big fan of multitasking, as you know.
Yep.
What's the advantage of allowing a technician to have simultaneous sessions, right? In terms of internal processes, what does that do for me?
Yep. So, and it depends on how you set up your business. Obviously, you're not a big fan of the multitasking approach. That's cool because you can still use that time waiting on something for other things. We get the loading, those downloading uploads. You have the ability to do other things. You could potentially be logging that work. You do the ticket logging as you're going. You have the ability to manage multiple deployments if you need to, and you can solve the same problem multiple times. So you can say, I'm working on this issue. I'm going to do it in multiple places because I've identified that within that customer, it's happening there. I want to fix it in multiple places at the same time. So I can work on just one issue, but I can do it across multiple machines at the same time, particularly if it's a patch rollout or I've identified a misconfiguration and I want to solve it in multiple places. I can do that by having simultaneous sessions.
So it almost sounds like you could just take control for training sessions. Is that something that you would recommend this tool for?
We look at it more from the idea of individual remote training. So we actually are guiding away from the idea of mass training. We think it's much more valuable here to have one-on-one interactions. That's really the way that we're thinking about it from a training perspective. We want you to get a close relationship with your customer. We're thinking it from that perspective.
Okay. And I know there's some kind of messaging built into the app. What exactly is the nature of that?
Yep. The idea is there's an in-session chat so that you can actually chat with people and communicate. This also, of course, gives you some of the automatic, the logging of that. You can log the chat and such, but it gives you a way of communicating with the users, even if you're not necessarily, doing on the phone. And this also does let you work with users without interrupting them. One of the big things that we often see is people that are employees don't want to be interrupted to get help. They are on the phone or their service text, but this gives you, the technician, a way of communicating with them without interrupting them full time, and you can continue to work with them on the issue while they're working.
So there's so many features.
Yes.
Do you have some tips on how to get the most out of the licenses that I've purchased?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the way we describe eating an elephant. You do it one bite at a time. Really prioritize your needs. I want to take a look at what you need in your business and figure out how you want to attack this list of features. Start with your most important pain point and work from there. Focus on your business, what you need. The good news is that this is all designed to be really easy to use. It may seem like a lot of features, a lot to learn. It's not. It's really easy to use. And the security features are all built in. So you're going to get that leverage without having to do a lot of extra work because we built that into the product.
Very good. Well, thank you as always for your time. It's great to talk to you. We've been talking today with Dave Sobel, who is the Senior Director of MSP Evangelism. See how good I'm getting at that?
It is all the practice.
For SolarWinds MSP. So this is number 5 in a 6-part set of video podcasts that we're doing. Join us next time, and we're going to conclude the series with some talk about sales and go-to-marketing advice that you can use with Take Control. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.